Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Canada. And thank you for joining us even on this uh, webinar today. Thank you for being part of what we're trying to do, even in partnership with the McGill University and also the Mastercard Foundation, as well as our partners at Nestlé. Thank you for being part of this webinar today, talking about pathways to entrepreneurship, focus on women and youth. Why focus on women and youth, you might ask? We have to leverage on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that talks about even giving priority opportunities even to young people, the youths, and the women. So today on this webinar, we're privileged to have a distinguished set of panelists. But before I go into the panel introductions, I'd like to give the floor to the president of the Canada Africa Chamber of Business, Mr. Gareth Blow, who's been very phenomenal, even supporting this and making this happen. And so over to you, Gareth.
Well, thank you very much. And a massive congratulations to all involved in this event today. It's truly tremendous to see a culmination of a partnership with one of the world's leading institutions right here in Canada, McGill University, combined with some of the foremost experts who are going to be with us on the panel today. I'd like to particularly thank Dr. Nee Adi on behalf of the board, the members at the Chamber, and all of our partners for your role initially years ago, beginning planting the seeds that has culminated in certainly one of the most active partnerships in our 28-year history as an organization. To the guests joining us from various other institutions and great companies like Nestlé, thank you very much for taking time to share your expertise. And a particular thank you to the Mastercard Foundation. It's with great pride that the Chamber looks forward to welcoming both Doreen and Ferdinand onto the team as McGill Mastercard Foundation interns. And then a very big thank you to Mr. Toya Abioye, who for the past 2 years has been an absolutely incredible and indispensable part of the Chamber, and who takes up the inaugural first position in our business development and partnerships management role that has been established in the organization. I would like at this moment as well just to give a special thank you to each of the speakers with us, Dr. Dorothy Okello, Dorcas Nakachwa, and Deborah Kwabla, for the expertise you'll be sharing and for pioneering such important work in one of the most vital aspects of Canada-Africa trade and investment, the role of women and youth in these pathways to entrepreneurship. And finally, to Six, who've enabled this and made it happen. Your platform is connecting millions of dollars in capital to projects across the continent in any given month, if not more. And thank you for supporting us and for providing world-class technology that allows us to so seamlessly have these conversations and enable business for the benefit of all across the continent and Canada. Mr. Toya Abioye, back to you, sir.
So without much ado, we'll get into the business of the day. So why the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area? On August 25, 2021, we had a session with the Nestlé group, and also that was in partnership with the McGill University and the Mastercard Foundation also, and where Nestlé and Dr. Dorothy Okello had spoken about even prioritizing opportunities even for or securing the future of Africa's free trade. What does that mean in practical terms? Because we can talk about even those policies and those directions, but then how exactly does it play out? And that's why we have this follow-up today, even to be able to look at the opportunities for African women and young people on the continent. It goes without saying that Africa is the youngest continent in the world, with over 65% of its population within the age bracket of 18 and 35. Research has shown us that women contribute to about 70 or 80% of informal trade that happens across the African continent. And so what are the practical steps even to be able to make this happen, even for young people, as we talk about Agenda 2063 on the by the African Union? And going forward today, we would like to have some practical applications of what is being done even to make the after a reality. So I'd like to introduce our speakers. On the panel today, we've got Dr. Dorothy Okello. Dr. Okello is the Dean, School of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology, and also at the Makerere University in Uganda. And she will also be sharing, particularly from my experience, being a founder of Women of Uganda Network, and she's also a McGill alumna. And so that's also a good thing even for us, because as we talk about this partnership, how do we build into the experiences that we've gained, even having lived and studied in Canada, and sharing that experience across the African continent. Also joining us from Accra, Ghana, is Mr. Elenu Agbedo. He's the entrepreneurship coordinator and the graduate trainee at Nestlé Ghana. He'll be sharing practical steps of what is being done even to encourage young people in partnership with Nestlé into the sphere of entrepreneurship. So what does that mean for us as young people on the African continent? We've got Dorcas Nakajwa, who's a co-founder of Innogen and also a McGill alumna, who will also be sharing her thoughts and experiences. And so I'll just hand over to Liz. I thought Liz is a strategy analyst at the Canada Africa Chamber of Business, and she's been very, very instrumental even to making this happen. So Liz will take it from here, and then we'll co-host as well. So Liz, over to you.
Thank you very much, Toye. I really appreciate everyone on the team today. A special thanks to our presenters for making the time and all the preparations to be on this platform. I would like to hand the microphone back to hand the microphone to Mr. Elenu to give us a point of his view, especially in this discussion, and give us the information that we need as we focus on African youth and women in trying to realize the after objectives. On to you, Mr. Elenu.
Okay, thank you. My name is Elenu Agbedo. I'm the beverage business manager for Nestlé Professional Business Unit in Nestlé Ghana Limited. So just to make the point straight, I should acknowledge the fact that I started working in Nestlé as a graduate training program, which was an initiative of Nestlé Ghana that got me a role to be trained for a 2 years developmental program. And out of that, I've become a manager. So Nestlé has been at the forefront of providing sustainable jobs for the youth in Africa and in Ghana at large. So for not wasting time, I would like to zoom on and focus on one successful employment initiative that we've taken over the past years. And I would love to share that with the team and take your response and feedback as well. Okay, so for us to better appreciate the context of this initiative, which is called the Mayubu, I would love to give a background to what the business unit that is running this program initiative in Ghana, which is the Nestlé Professional Unit. So basically, it is a fact that most of us, we spend much of our time outdoor, on the street, in the offices, in the industries, in the hotels, and so many other places out of home. And typically, when we move out of the house, we still want to be fed. We want to take in beverage. We want to take in food. We want to nourish our body, and this is where Nestlé Professional comes into the picture. So we are that segment of the business that caters for the need of the consumers who are out of home, who needs to be served and to nourish their body and nourish their life and keep going. So our focus as a business unit over the past years is to target the out of home food chain businesses, which include the bakeries, the restaurants, the business institutions, and the hotels and the catering service, in developing solutions that will meet the needs of the consumers within this landscape. And this we do this through collaborative partnership with our operators, our vendors, and also with our distributors, because they have the wide reach in terms of the distribution in getting our product across the spectrum of the nation to have to let our consumers have access to our solution. And again, so our vision as a department, as a business unit, it's focused on being the trusted and a quality partner when it comes to the beverage and food solutions when it comes to the out of home. And within the out of home channel in which we operate as a business unit, the key channel within which we play much is on the street. and the streets account for almost about 70% of our business in Nestlé Ghana. And within this street business, we have developed a sustainable income generating activity for the youth in Ghana that is contributing to livelihood and empowering the youth to become and to own their own destiny and to become business entrepreneurs in Ghana. So this is the context of the Nestlé Professional Business Unit that are running this initiative. So let's now move to the initiative Mayubu. So the question is, what is Mayubu? So it's an acronym. It is an acronym which stands for My Own Business. So we are encouraging the youth in Ghana to be able to venture into businesses by owning and operating their own business, so as they are able to make a living and also make an impact in terms of recruiting other people in the value chain. So typically what we do as a business, Nestlé, is to provide all the working tools, accessories to all these potential business operators who are willing to work, by giving them all the tools so that they can set up their business, and we support them, we train them for them to be able to be running the business successfully and also to rake in some money and make a living. So over the past 18 years, we started this Mayubu initiative, and we've grown consistently over the years. And there are two main objectives why we came up with this initiative. So the first one, as a business in Nestlé, we also think of creating shared value in the society in which we operate, not just only making money, but also how do we see how do we come about interventions to be able to support the youth and other people in making a win-win situation for everyone in the value chain and in the community in which we operate. So we came up with this Mayubu concept, which is a means of empowering the youth to own businesses, to work, and to make money for their life. And again, also it's a means of social intervention by creating jobs for the youth, so that the unemployment rate that we have in Ghana, which is very high, at least as a way of also mitigating that, we can be able to reduce this impact and make livelihood sustainable for the younger generations, especially for the youth who are out of school, who do not have any work. They can start with this initiative in making money and also creating jobs for other younger people in the society. So we started this in 2004. Initially, we began with only 4 operators and about 18 vendors. But over the past years, we've seen an increase in terms of the job creations that we've created in the vending business on the street. So as at now, in this year, we've been able to recruit over 500 of these vendors who are actively working, selling, and making a living out of the business that we have given to them. And as you can see on the screen, in terms of the demographic for the vendors and the operators who manages this business, much of them are within the youthful bracket, which also means that Nestlé, as an entity and in a business, we focus on developing the youth, giving them the right skill set, and also empowering them with the required working tools to be able to make a living and make a positive impact in the society as well. Okay, so I want to explain the people within the value chain for us to be able to appreciate the other slides in this presentation. So within the value chain of the Mayubu initiative that we have the operator and we have the vendor. And all these people are 2 different categories of people that through our initiative we have recruited and they are working. So an operator is typically the person who owns the business. So here, Nestlé, virtually we give all the working tools to this operator to be able to set up a minimum place of work, which we call a kitchen. So Nestlé gives the machine in terms of a push cart, as you can see on the screen. We also have the shoulder kit that are given to the operators so that they in turn establish a kitchen. Then they start vending the business. And again, as part of our requirement, we also expect that not just about only selling and making money, but they're also supposed to ensure the highest hygienic condition in the kitchen and the place that they operate. So periodically, we do training for them, we assess them, and we ensure that they are doing the right, are giving the right recipe to the consumer on the street, and also delivering on their daily targets. And because it's the value chain is a commission-based work, the more you work, the more they earn. So at a minimum level, we expect them that they do a minimum cappage in terms of the sales in order to break even and make more money. And typically for the past month now in this year, most of the operators are making more than the daily minimum wage in Ghana, for which for us as a business is a success story, and we are employing people to make much more impact in terms of the job that we give to them. Then the other people in the value chain is the vendor. So typically the vendor is the female or the male who actually sells this beverage solution on the street. And yet to date, we have quite a number, about 10% of the vendors being female and 90% of them being male, who are selling the coffee and the Milo directly on the street by engaging the consumers through the solution that we provide for them. And again, they are also expected to be able to deliver the minimum target so that they can break even and also make a living. So in terms of how the whole initiative work, so as you see on the screen, we have Nestlé, who is the manufacturer and the distributor of the product. Then we sell to a distributor who then also sells to an operator. So here, the operator, who is the business manager, will buy from a dedicated distributor and in turn also pass that purchase of the stock to the vendor, who sells directly to the consumer on the street. And it is very interesting when we look at the numbers in terms of the commissions that the operator and the vendor makes within this value chain. So typically, we recommend that an operator should have a minimum of 5 set of machines, which is the push cart. And if they're able to operate with these 5 machines within a month, they are making an approximate average of 300 USD per month. And whereas the vendor is also making close to 145 USD every month. And as I've already also mentioned, this is above the minimum wage rate in Ghana. And this makes them to be able to afford a good standard of living and also to cater for other needs that they will also want to. So in all these dynamics, how do Nestlé come in to support and make this value chain more sustainable and ensure that everybody gain? So what we do as a business is that we give all the necessary tools that is required in setting up this business. So we give all the machines, the shoulder kits, we give flags, we give t-shirts, vests, and virtually everything that is required to start the business. So we, Nestlé, have the mindset that we want to empower the youth. We want the youth to make a living. So for that matter, this startup cost, we take it up for us to be able to recruit and get more people into the business, into the initiative for them to make a living. And in terms of the cost and maintenance of this cart and the asset that the operators and the vendors uses on behalf of Nestlé, we borne those costs and ensuring that we don't put so much burden on the operator or the vendor, but we will be able to take up the cost of this repairs and maintenance and ensure the regular usage of our assets on the street, so that both parties, the operator and the vendor, is also making their margins or the commission that they deserve. And again, constantly, we also have a periodic and training for the operators and the vendors, and also we coach them and mentor them when it comes to sales best practices and how to sell to be able to make more margins. And again, we also do support them with a lot of other promotional activities in order to help them earn more in terms of the sales that they are doing and also the commission that they earn. Okay, so how then do I become an operator? So assuming anyone on the call, or you have a friend or any person who is interested in setting up such a business in Ghana, what we require of you is very simple. So as an operator, you must be desirous and be eager to make a living and to make an income, because this should be one of the driving factors that will drive you to be unemployed, so that you can be able to work with the tools that Nestlé will give to you so that you can make a living out of it. So your preparedness, your eagerness, and your curiosity to work and to make money is very fundamental in this value chain business initiative. And again, you need an initial commitment, approximately 210 USD in a month. And this is only used just to purchase the product which you intend turn over through the vendor on the street. So basically, all you have to commit to as an operator is a minimum capital of the 210 USD and a place of a kitchen where you have your flask, you will have the product that will give to you. You keep your stove, you keep your water as a clean and hygienic place for you to be able to operate from. And again, as the business manager, you have to start with a minimum of 5 vendors, with the sense that with the 5 vendors, you should be able to make more, about 300 USD in a month. And again, hygiene is very key for Nestlé as an international brand, international company. We ensure that every chain and every activities within the chain is well kept, well under control in terms of hygiene. So we have quality assurance agencies and employees who do visit these places to ensure that we are not just only vending solution to consumers, but we are vending quality and a good and a tastier product to the end consumer on the street. And again, for the purpose of our local authorities, you are supposed to have a requisite, a valid health certificate in order to start any business on the street. So this is a mandatory requirement of an operator before we can set you up as an operator for you to start to work. And again, as a vendor who pushes and sell the vending product on the street, all I need is to be hungry for success. You should be motivating in order to be able to start to take up this task in order to sell and to make a commission for yourself. And again, as per requirement, you also have to get a health certificate in order to start this business. Okay, so thank you. So this is the presentation, and the presentation I have to share with the team. If there's any question, any remarks and comments, please, it's open. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elenu. That is really educative and informative about how to become an operator and a vendor in the value chain of Nestlé. Really informative. There will be questions, but that will be at towards the end during the Q&A session. But thank you so much for the information that you have been able to share with us. So at this moment, I will hand the microphone to Dorcas Nakachwa, who is the co-founder of Innogen. That is an organization that is encouraging young women to pursue programs in the STEM arena. And Dorcas will be sharing with us information about their organization and what they do. And right after that, we will hand over to Toye. And if Dr. Dorothy is able to join us, she will also share some information. Thank you so much. Dorcas, the floor is yours.
Okay, Thank you so much, Liz, for the introduction. And I would like to express my gratitude. I'm very happy to be in the midst of Elenu and Toye and Dr. Dorothy. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that we actually have Ghana, people talking about Ghana, because I have fond memories in Ghana. And actually, the idea of starting Innogen was birthed in Ghana. And I'm a Ugandan myself, so I'm very happy to have Dr. Dorothy as well on board. So I know that we all hear the phrase that when you educate a girl child, you educate the community. And I know that that sounds very cliche, but it's very true. I'm here to talk more about that phrase and to explicate more about what we do at Innogen. As Liz said, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Innogen. I'm a McGill alumni. I graduated last year, and I'm working right now while working on Innogen as well. So Innogen stands for Innovative Generation, and as we go deep in the presentation, you'll understand why we really decided to name it Innogen, to stand for an innovative generation. So as part of our problem statement, we realized that according to the National Uganda National Examination Board, this is the board that actually gives out national exams on the junior high school level and on the senior high school level. Gathering all that data, we realized that 50% of students fail science subjects. And also in comparison to the UCAS data from HESA and the findings from the WISE campaigns, we actually realized that 25 out of 100 women actually take up STEM programs. So there was definitely a problem. Students are failing science subjects, but even more especially, women are not taking up STEM programs. And we, Innogen, decided to come up with a solution. And we are an enterprise that supports, mentors, and empowers girls in Uganda to join the exciting field of STEM. And STEM would stand for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So our mission is to inspire and support young African girls in STEM fields. And our vision is to cultivate an innovative generation of girls that is unlimited by what they can accomplish in STEM. Okay. So that is our vision. And so our services, I'll talk more. We have 3 service offerings right now. We have the Science Tutor Program, we have the Practical Sessions Program, and we have the Mentorship Program. I'll talk more about each program specifically, but I'll start off with the tutor program. So the tutor program has been designed to support schools and students in subjects like biology, physics, chemistry, and mathematics, and science practicals. And this is going to be done through assistive learning, coaching, and revision of complex topics to the students. And the topics that are going to be covered are actually topics that are set in these national exams. This tutor program is underway, and it's slated to be rolled out in May, actually this coming month. And I would like to give a brief background about this tutor program. We all know the effects of COVID that COVID has had. We know that especially in Uganda, specifically to Uganda, schools were on lockdown for 2 years, and schools only started to reopen in January. So Innogen really started operations in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, and we were contemplating together and brainstorming on how we can really support girls in STEM. And when we got to learn that schools had reopened in January, we really wanted to roll out a practical sessions program that I'm going to talk about further in the presentation. But then we also realized that you can't really train students in these practical sessions if they don't even know the information that you're feeding them. They've been out of school for 2 years. So we realized that there's a need to bridge that gap. There's a need to fill in these students on the information that they've lost out in the 2 years. So that's how we came up with the tutor program. And we've actually, like I said, rolled it out. Execution starts in May, and we are starting with Bethany High School, a high school in Uganda, and we are starting with physics and mathematics. So this rolls me nicely into the practical sessions program, like I'd mentioned. So we have leveraged the increased need for technology and human-centered design. We all know right now, I know we all hear that, oh, the world is tech right now. Everything is about technology. And that is very true. And we at Innogen want to leverage that need for technology, and we really want it to be human-centered, because at the end of the day, we can have tech, but we need to have people that relate to this technology that we're rolling out. So our practical sessions program is designed to be hands-on, and its main objective is really to empower students on the skill set to solve real-life problems. And for this practical sessions program, it's going to be based off robotics, it's going to be based off programming, it's going to be based off engineering, general engineering problems. For example, I would say maybe designing a robot that can help a lame person be able to navigate their as someone with a disability to be able to navigate their surrounding. And let's say this robot has some ultra sensors, it has some motion sensors that can detect obstacles. In a nutshell, really to help this person with a disability to be able to navigate the environment. These are some of the problems that we are actually rolling out. These are some of the problems that we actually want our students to get accustomed to solve, so that they're using this technology for human good. And I would also say that I also relate personally on a very personal level. I relate to this practical sessions program because I've not said, but I'm an engineer by profession, and I got the desire to do engineering really from a very young age. I know it's very weird that most times from a young age we don't know what we want to do in future, but I was very privileged to have mentorship. Like I'll talk about another service offering that you have. Mentorship really is important. So from like junior high school, I knew very well that I wanted to be an engineer because I was fascinated by physics and mathematics. I was very glad and fortunate to have that mentorship really. So part of my mentor was working with Coca-Cola Uganda at that time, and he invited me over to visit the plant, actually more or less like Nestlé in Ghana, to visit the plant. And when I went there, I saw so many blowing machine, injection molding machines, and I really fell in love with mechanical machine design. And I always told myself at the back of my mind that, oh, I want to become a mechanical engineer. I want to do things like what those people were doing, the people that I saw in Coca-Cola Uganda doing. I want to do that. So when I was done with my senior high school, I decided that I wanted to do mechanical engineering, and I did mechanical engineering, which further led me to do aerospace engineering. But really, it was out of practice, really seeing these people operating these machines in Coca-Cola Uganda really ignited that love for mechanical machine design. So we really understand that practice makes perfect, but then also when the students are able to do hands-on and play with all these robots and these sensors, they'll be able to relate technology to the real life problems. Moving on, I've talked about mentorship. Mentorship is very important. This is the first service offering that we rolled out. We have mentees on board, like you see in the pictures, and their mentors. And it has been a very successful journey. We are still having our mentorship program running. We still have our mentors running. We check in on them. For us at Innogen, once you're an Innogen mentee, always an Innogen mentee. We are trying to build a generation of women, like I said in our vision, who are not limited by what they can accomplish in STEM. And we understand that we can only do this in a community of women, in a community of youth who walked different journeys of life, who have been able to achieve some goals, who are able to encourage one another. So that is really what our mentorship program is about. It's it's very comprehensive, and it's about exposing them to endless opportunities in STEM, and we pair them with mentors who are already in these professional fields, who are already working. And some of the sessions that we had with our mentees, we've had meet a professional mentee where they actually got to interact with someone in the field to actually explain to them what, for example, we have a mentee who is doing human nutrition, and human nutrition is broad. So we've had our mentee interact with someone who is in the nutrition field, and she has asked all these questions, and now she really understands what she's about. We also have another mentee who wants to become a doctor. So she actually met with another person in the medical field who explained to her the different pathways in medicine. And we understand that this is very important for our girls to understand that when you're in STEM, it's a broad field, and there is no limit to really what you can do. For example, I'll also give a personal example myself. People look at mechanical engineering and all they think about are machines, but people don't think that mechanical engineering involves structures, it involves railways, it involves aircrafts. It's very broad. So this is what we really wanted to give to our mentees, for them to understand that there is a lot that you can do, and for us to be able to expose them to this information. I also must say that we are very grateful to have a community, or to have partners who have helped us, women who have actually come on board to as professionals who are guiding our mentees, and also as mentors who are also guiding our mentees. So I'm really very happy with the mentorship program, and we are looking forward to rolling out the tutor program this year. And once we have been able to bridge that gap that was created by COVID-19, then we'll be very happy to roll out the practical sessions program. So that is it. My name, Dorcas Nakachwa. I'm the co-founder and CEO. And another co-founder is Angela Nantambi, who is a digital content strategist at Arizona State University, and she's also a student at Thunderbird School of Global Management. So that is it from us, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Please connect with us. We are available on that's our website, that's our email, and then also on all social media platforms. We update all our sessions and all the things that we do. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you for that information, Dorcas, and bringing us close to the kind of work that you do. We must admit that business and all kinds of value chains in different industries need technical experts, people who understand different things. If we are to look at let's say the aerospace industry in Africa, if we are to start building one right now in Europe, we have Airbus, and we have the Boeing in the US. What are we looking at as Africa? You know, because it's through these different industries and the techniques that different people pick up, let's say in school, that we will be able to increase value. So that is really important. And what Nestlé is talking about, like let's say the machines they use to cook in the kitchen, to come up with the delicious beverages. We need engineers in that field. So this blends in really well. I do not know if Dr. Dorothy Okello, who will talk about academic excellence, and this also feeds into engineering and what Dorcas has been speaking about. What are we doing in the engineering fields in different schools in Africa? If she's able to connect, she can discuss a few things with us, especially activities she's doing through the Women of Uganda network. So I will hand it to her if she is able to hear us and if she's able to speak. Otherwise, she has been having a bit of technical issues.
Great.
We can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I think I've just realized that the rain also takes down our internet, and I've had to do a direct dial, but thanks. Dasha has agreed to push my slides through for me. I hope you'll have access to those. Dasha, just say next, please, and take it that we're on the same slide. So are my slides up yet? Slide 1?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So first of all, I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be able to interact with everyone on this panel. And for the times I was able to go on, I thought, wow, it's actually a good thing that I get to present SAD, because a lot of the statistics and the numbers and the experiences have been shared in the 2 presentations before mine. I thought maybe what I plan to do, and it seems to fit quite well with the flow, is to really pick out on the issue of the focus of women and youth, as was the theme for our presentation. So next slide, please. So I'll share a little bit about Makerere University, which is where I'm based. It's what we would call my day job. Then a little about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, because that's the overarching theme that brings us together, and then conclude with just a few thoughts and some experiences within the time that I have been given in terms of opportunities for women and youth. Okay, next slide, please. So a little about Makerere University. We are actually celebrating 100 years, and so it's a really special time for us. And also it's coming at a time when we're really looking at committing to providing a transformative and innovative teaching, learning, research, and services environment that is responsive to the needs, the national and global needs that we find ourselves in. And just speaking to the kind of issues that we're bringing forth in this webinar related to entrepreneurship, one of our strategic objectives is yet even within being research-led is to enhance our engagement with industry and business sector so that we can actually be more instrumental, more supportive of our entrepreneurship ecosystem. And just also sharing a little bit with you about the College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology, which is where the School of Engineering is based. And our tagline is that we are the home of innovation. So I've given you some numbers about our population, student population and academic staff. But the key thing I wanted to highlight about said at the home of innovation is that alongside the strategic plan of the university, we're really big in terms of encouraging students to be innovative and solving society problems, so that even as they're doing the engineering programs, and it was interesting listening to Dorcas ahead of me and seeing what she's doing, this is exactly what we want our students to do. How do you apply your engineering skills in order to solve society problems? Okay, next slide, please. So with that, I'll just speak a little bit about the African Continental Free Trade area. And so basically the aim for this, just to bring everyone, and so we're all on the same page, at least from the perspective that I'm looking at it, is that the aim is to accelerate inter-African trade and boost our trading position in the global market. If you look at statistics for most of our countries, apart from maybe trading within the regional blocks, say Uganda within the East Africa region or South Africa within SADC, you find that actually a lot of us, our trade volumes are, from our countries to out of Africa. And so this aim is really very pertinent. And this project is actually one of the flagship projects for Agenda 2063 of the African Union. And I must say that Agenda 2063 of the African Union also pays particular attention at that level to the concerns and needs for women and youth. And so just to share a few pointers in terms of what is their view then but with respect actually to business. So one, they recognize that women and youth account for the majority of the population. So that's number one. And two, business owners and the workforce. All right. So it's not a good thing that we are doing just by that self. It's that actually you are dealing with the bulk of the population and you're dealing with women and youth exactly where they are. All right. The next issue that that they recognize is that over 70% of cross-border traders, right, especially those engaged in informal trade, are women, right? And when you look at actually where are the spaces of women engagement in business, it tends to be in the informal sector. So this is a really big number. Now, turning to the side of youth, generally speaking, Africa, we are the youngest continent. We have a really high percentage of youth, and therefore there is need to invest in ensuring that our youth have credible pathways to engage in productive activities. And being at the university, this is a reality that I live every day. So that at the end of the day, and this is why I mentioned earlier about SEDAT and emphasizing the fact that our tagline is the home of innovation, is that we want our students and we want the youth in general, so to speak, to reap the promise of their dreams and become architects of their own prosperity in line with the agreement as well. And so also, just as the Agenda 2063 has a big focus on women and youth, so does the agreement, which seeks to benefit women and youth, as well as SMEs that actually are the ones that dominate economic activity in African countries. All right, next slide, please. Hello, are we still together? Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're on opportunities for women and youth.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. You know, my mind was tuned. I was like, I'm not seeing the changing slides. All right. This is a first time for me to do this via the phone. All right. Opportunities for women and youth. Okay. So I've put a slide there that has tidbits of facts from various sources, primarily from a study done by the Broadband Commission in 2013. And the reason why I like highlighting this, I mean, when you think of 2013, that's 9 years ago. But if you read any of these statistics and you look at where we are in 2022, it's like this was written today, all right? So starting from the very top, the fact is studies today still show that women are 20 to 30% less likely to own a mobile phone than men, all right? And if you think about where we are in terms of the digital transformation that we're experiencing and the need to have, I should really just go straight out and say smartphones or broadband-enabled phones, this is a huge gap, all right? It's a huge challenge, all right? A study in 2011, however, found that in as much as, you know, we've just said that fewer women have mobile phones than men, but by 2011, more people had mobile phones than a bank account. And we've exponentially increased that gap since then in terms of the people that have mobile phones but have no bank account. And no wonder today the spread and the growth of fintechs. So it's one thing that we recognize, and then we see how it plays out today. There are big gender gaps in terms of who has access, you know, who's online, and this gap is continuing to grow. But even in the developed economies, this is not just an Africa issue, but just put some perspectives. Women in STEM, and for myself that had the opportunity to study at McGill, or let me say North America in general, this was also something, I'll be very honest, I mean, I thought it was something for just back home here, and then I came out there and I found it's a global issue, right? And yet, that being said, actually either of the employment, right, and the opportunities for growth are actually in the ICT space, meaning that you're either ICT techie or you're comfortable using ICT skills because that's what helps you do the leapfrog. And so I share this to say, why are we saying women and youth? We're saying women and youth because of issues such as this. Next slide, please. So what happened, though, is in the last 2 years, we had a challenge, a global challenge, the COVID-19 challenge, and it really disrupted our lives. But as far as digitization goes and opening up space, there was a silver lining, because we learned how to work from home and we learned how to use technology. We learned how to work from home is very important because in most of our communities here, women are doing a lot of multitasking, or you're working from home, right? That work now became valued. Secondly, we were locked down. You couldn't move up and about, okay? And so technology became the way that you went to school, that you got your groceries, that you engaged with your family and everything. So I put learned in quotes for emphasis that was the choice now. You either had to get onto the technology or you were really left out of it all. Okay? So that's the silver lining that came with the very, very sad COVID-19 pandemic that we lived through. Next slide, please. So given that, and now bringing us back to today, and looking at the fact that I shared earlier that, in fact, women comprise the majority of the cross-border traders, albeit being in the informal sector. So where are we now, and what do we do going forward? So some of the typical challenges we face, first of all, lots of, I'm speaking for the statistics for Uganda, 80% of our women in rural areas, a large percentage of them, and the youth as well, form the agricultural workforce, which is the primary economic activity, but we're doing it at basic level. So some of the challenges, value addition, access to markets, access to finance, and all right? We know that story, and some have been shared already. But what are some of the opportunities, and especially when you have a program like the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which means that there is going to be facilitation to do cross-trade, cross-border trade, okay? So now we go back to some of the lessons that we learned during COVID when we were locked up at home. And now technology became something that we got to appreciate. It was no longer a luxury. Or yes, it's still a challenge. We still have rural divides. We still have gender digital divides. But even with that, there's even more impetus to get it to work. One is that we now have the opportunity for networking facilitated by technology, mentorship facilitated by technology. And as Dorcas was speaking earlier, I'm like, okay, so I don't need to give a lot of examples around this because I think she did a really great job in terms of sharing about that. Okay, I think the other big opportunity that we got was that there was increased visibility and awareness of what is possible. And so when you look at some of the things that what happened, traditionally we were going to the markets physically, all right? COVID happened, and then you had the safe borders of this world, delivery services and everything really springing up to provide a bridge, right, between the market and our homes. You had the ladies at the market, okay, getting onto Facebook or other platforms where they could share pictures of their produce in order to connect with their clients. So the visibility and awareness of what we could do with technology really, really came out and stood out during that period. And that's where we find ourselves today. And that really aligns, therefore, with the opportunities and the visibility that we should be looking into the future as we see what are the pathways, okay? Because now we know how to do it, and across the board, from the market lady to the corporate lady, all now believe that we can actually use technology to deliver products and services to clients near us and far from us, which aligns very well with what we're trying to do. Okay, so next slide. So what is the opportunity then, right? So the opportunity, as I've emphasized, is one, we can now work within and beyond. all right? We have to collaborate. Opportunities and engagements like this where we learn from each other, where we share from each other. Platforms like the African Continental Free Trade Agreement become even more pertinent, okay? But coming to the role of academia, all right? Because, and especially coming from the field of engineering like I do, okay? This visibility and awareness is not only for the market lady that I gave as an example, or the youth who sees that, okay, I can sell my services online. I can show how really great I am at making these crafts and the like. But it's also for us in academia, all right, in terms of how do we be the best home of innovation, even in this space, through community engagement. And here I want to bring in the work, for example, that we've done with WUGNet. I'm no longer so actively involved. I founded it 20 plus years ago, and I'm really happy that we now have a new board in place. We have a coordinator in place. I invited them to this, and hopefully some of them, if they've had a better opportunity than myself to connect, can share of their experiences like this. When we started way back, what we were looking at is one phone for a group of 30 women. We were looking at radio cassettes for sharing discussions that this could be, so that, you know, we could foster networking, we could foster linkages with the agricultural officers in order to enhance our productivity. Today, we are talking about the use of social media, okay, enabling us to connect. And for us at the university, it means that even now, as we are in session, okay, not quite now because we're doing exams, but even when we are doing the regular session, we can actually do projects now with the community, and we can link up using technology. We can see how is the farming going. We get pictures. We can see this is what's going on. We're like, okay, we've got an infestation of this crop. What do we do? How do we go about this? And we're engaging with women actually in the ground. And the challenge on our side then is that how do we foster systems that enable accessible, affordable technology? That is the challenge that I have as the engineer on this side. Why? Because I want to facilitate this interaction. And how do I know what is important? Because I'm actually engaging with women on the ground. And therefore, we are really co-creating solutions towards sustainable and resilient infrastructure. All right. Another initiative that we have is with the Northern Uganda Resilience Innovation Network. And here we were working with a primary school that we are looking to see how do we set up and provide them some degree of online access and basic training so that they don't miss out every time there's a shutdown, then, you know, they're completely cut off. Again, through the use of technology, we were able to work with youth on the ground. So the youth on the ground were the ones heading out to the schools, understanding what are their needs, what do we need to set up, how close is the nearest electricity pole, and we were able to collaborate and do these projects together, all by the way of forming a pathway so that on top of that, you can have entrepreneurs riding over the technology. And so these are just a few examples sharing with you in terms of what we have been able to do. And I encourage you to visit, for example, the website of the Women of Uganda Network. I will try and see later if I'm able to chat and share this with you. If not, we can share this with you separately. But there's a lot that has been able to be done and that we can leverage now that we have a wider appreciation of what technology can do, and we are just simply now trying to see how we stretch the boundaries even more and more. And the good thing also about the what technology allows for is that we can learn by doing, okay? Because technology allows you to do a startup in the comfort of your home. We like to say in the comfort of your garage, all right? But generally speaking, the comfort of your home is the comfort. And start informally. Use word of mouth, get your family connected, get your neighborhood connected with some service, right? So just as I was preparing for this, I was chatting with some colleagues who are in this space, and I said, well, I have this session this afternoon. Do you have any examples you'd like to share? And what happened as a result of, COVID and people realizing the potential, you had 5 youth get together and say, well, we can actually put platforms together that can mobilize farmers, whether they're small scale or otherwise, that are rearing chicken, and then we connect them with hotels, in Uganda, roadside chicken roasting is very popular, so, or, home delivery services, so that if someone gets an order, for example, short notice, I need 200 birds, I use this app, I'm able to connect with these 5. And they were sharing that actually the marketing team, whenever they go out, to event managers, event planners, they have a lot of market there, because these are the people who are typically at the last minute called upon by clients who really believe in their magic and capacity to deliver on short notice. So technology allows people to get together, start initiatives, start enterprises, whether informally, but at least to get started. And then as you get formal, as you grow, because at a certain point, if you need to scale, you need to get formal. And even there, again, a lot of our countries are trying to reduce the cost of doing business, making things available online. You can pay your taxes online. You can set up a lot of what you need to do for your businesses online. You can open bank accounts. So all of these are opportunities which are now coming forth, and where the key thing that we really need to do, and for me the key message from this is that how can we continue to raise the bar in terms of the visibility and awareness of the potentials? How can we continue to create more awareness about programs like this agreement that will then facilitate the women, for example, who are already the bulk of informal cross-border traders, to use technology to even expand their networks beyond where they are right now. Next slide, please. So I just, in concluding, I like this quote from Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And it is really my hope that as we continue to have these engagements, as we continue to share with one another, we can quickly come up with things that, even if we do have to start informally or to start small, we can get something moving, get opportunities happening, support what organizations like Docus is already doing, learn from what Nestlé, a bigger organization, is doing, and really get moving. And my last slide is to thank you all for your kind attention, and I hope that my voice has been clear as we have stepped through the presentation. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dorothy Okello. Your voice has been extremely clear, and we got everything that you were talking about. We cannot appreciate the kind of information you put together to share with us today. So at this moment, we are about to begin our the Q&A session. We have been filled today with so much information that we cannot begin to put our heads together at how many opportunities and the kind of opening that is there for African youth and women. And it is really important, as as different speakers have pointed to the importance of technology. Look at what technology is doing. I am seated in Montreal. Toy is seated somewhere in the west, in Winnipeg. Elenu is in Accra, Ghana, and we are all here. And Dr. Dorothy Okello, not to forget, she doesn't have her video here, but she's with us, as we have just heard, in Kampala, Uganda. This is how powerful technology is, and how much more can we exploit it to the benefit of our youth and women, who are the majority of African population, as has been mentioned already. So just to start off our Q&A, I will start with a question that is in the chat already from Bolanle Aishat. So the question is that the business idea thrived, and I want to believe this is the business idea that Elenu talked about with Nestlé. So the business idea thrived in Nigeria some years back, but the vendors are hardly seen around any longer. Is the current economic crisis affecting sales of vendors in Ghana? And this is going to Elenu to educate us a bit about what is happening currently, especially with the COVID-19 crisis, and is it the same thing as happening in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for the question. So rightly said, before the COVID in 2019, we used to have close to 400 of these active vendors working. But because of the COVID, there was a lockdown on the street, and most of the activities were closed down. So most of the vendors were relaxed. So we lost a chunk number of the vendors during the COVID period. But again, as a business that have the mindset of the youth in mind, what we did was to put an intervention of going out there to recruit people and give them an incentive to become vendors. So year to date, we've been able to increase the number of the active vendors working in Ghana here through the interventions we've put in place. And surprisingly, though we have a bit of economic hardship or crisis now in Ghana, we do continue to see an increase in the consumption of coffee and Milo on the street. Primarily because, yes, we still have a targeted consumer people that we sell to. So that has not deteriorated our consumption or even the income disposal of these consumers to purchase the same cup of coffee on the street. So in Ghana, our case is positive, and we hope and continue to ensure that through our interventions of getting more people, this time our focus will also be to get more of the ladies or the female to use the shoulder kit as well.
Thank you for that, Elenu. And a follow-up question with that to you before we can go to the other to the other panelists is as regards to the numbers of women that are operating as vendors. You did mention that 90% are male and 10% is female. In your experience and in what is happening, what do you think are the factors that are affecting women that there is such a low going through for the women? And as we are looking to this discussion and more of establishing the activities of after, we want women to be a bigger number. Case in Ghana, especially with Nestlé, is extremely low. What do you think are the factors that are affecting women? And in that sense, what do you think women need to do to come up?
Okay, thank you for the question. Again, so basically the hindrance is coming from the asset type that we have. So when I did the presentation, you saw that there were two kind of a machine, the shoulder kit, the one we have in front, and we have the push cart, the metal cart that you push on the street. So it's difficult for a lady to push that kind of cart. So our focus as a business is to develop more of the shoulder kit and get these ladies to be able to vend this product on the street. So now our focus is to recruit more women with the shoulder kit, but with the push cart, that will still be a challenge because it's more of a labor-intensive activity pushing on the streets.
Oh, absolutely. We as ladies want to use our backs we want our backs to be light. So definitely more innovation is needed on that side. And I can see Toye has his microphone off. So Toye, I'll give you this opportunity to say something.
Right. Thank you very much, Liz, and thank you, Elenu. Thank you, Dorcas. Thank you, Dr. Dorothy, for the excellent presentations. I think as a segue into the last conversation that Elenu, the response from Elenu now, how do we, even in practical ways, because if we look at Agenda 2063, for instance, the question I keep asking myself is, Agenda 2063 speaks to some 40 years away from now, right? Now, the people who are planning for 2063 are mostly in their 60s now, 60s, 70-year-olds, and across Africa. I'm talking about even the leadership. That how do we start engaging even groups like Dorcas's, like Innogen, for instance, to say, at 10, at 15, you must understand what the AFCFTA has in stock for you as a young African. How do we get that even into the planning phase, the production cycles at Nestlé, at these different organizations, so that what kind of innovation can we put in place? Because how much money will a young woman make if you have the shoulder kit, even just being able to do that? There must be ways. So maybe this collaboration. So Dr. Okello, if you're still hearing us, I think this is where we need institutions like CDAT. Say, what can we do that can increase the capacity of the average young person, particularly the ladies in Africa, to be able to earn? an income, because that's such a brilliant opportunity. So if you're earning $300 a month within the African environment, that's much more than the minimum wage as you've described in many places on the continent. So how do we start looking at practical ways? And so here we're not depending on what government should do. And that's why when you look at the private sector initiatives that are on the platform here, how do we start engaging ourselves? I know that I saw someone from the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance from, I think that it's an aggregation of Nestlé, Coca-Cola. You probably know about it being a beverage manager yourself. But how do we work around those kind of alliances to start looking for creative ways, innovation? That's what we need. Because if we're going to look at 40 years from now, the person who's going to be 60, who's going to be 40 years from now is not even yet born. And those of us who are mid-ages or closer to 40 and all that, what do we do around those things? So the question I'm asking is, are there opportunities for creativity, partnerships, even to support the kind of work that you do at Nestlé, one? And then when you look at the investment, for instance, you say you need an average of $200, if that 210 US dollars as an operator, and you need to have 5 vendors. Are there opportunities for people in diaspora, Africans in diaspora who want to invest in that and also support people on the ground so that people don't get into all sorts of things that do not help their livelihood and promote their futures? So can we take that also to places like Uganda and say to this group at Innogen, okay, well, I've got some $500 I want to put into this as somebody, as an African in diaspora. I want to be able to support what Nestlé is doing for Africans back on the continent. And then, because that in itself has the multiplier effect in there. So that we're not just looking at it within the Ghanaian space, within the Nigerian, the Ugandan or Sudanese space. The whole essence of the African continental free trade area is to be able to provide a market. And it is estimated that this market for goods and services is about $2.5 trillion. Dr. Okello gave us the statistics that we're familiar with. Intra-Africa trade is about 2% or 16%, thereabout, very low. So what do we do in practical ways? And let's say Nestle taking the lead and helping with innovation. So I've tried to tie it to the 3 presenters to say, are there ways to be able to come up with more innovative and creative ways to support the woman, the girl child, the young person, even to be able to earn more? Because if I don't have a push cart to be able to do that, and I just rely on the shoulder kit, and I'm using that example, my income will most likely be less than $300. And then that has a ripple effect down from a social and economic perspective. So those are my thoughts and questions along this line. So I don't know who wants to take a stab at this. So whether it's Dorcas taking the challenge from a STEM perspective, or Sidat, or Elenu. Yeah, all right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Let me try to respond to some of the question. So when it comes to the machine or the push cart that we give to the vendors, so what we've also thought about in the past years is to re-innovate the type of the machines that we give to these vendors. So the project for this year is to re-innovate the push cart into more like a semi or a small miniature of the existing one, so that it's more flexible for both the females and also the males to be able to use to vend on the street. So this project has already started, and we hope that through this we can be able to get more of the females to be able to join this initiative. Again, I think also beyond the project at Nestlé, we also have a lot of other training platforms, initiatives that we train the youth through our internships, through other corporate HR activities, to be able to educate the young ones in the schools and also those that are out of schools to know the realities of the job prospect that they have, the skill set that they will need to be able to fit into the various industry or the disaster career that they want to pursue. And also, again, in terms of you supporting and enabling the business across Africa, I think it's a good thing, we can do. And likely, because Nestlé is a global company, we are almost everywhere in all the countries. If you have any investments, you have capital that you think can support the multiplying effect of this job creation for the females in any country, we have our offices there. You just contact them, and I'm sure they should be able to help you to start up a similar pushcart business or vending business on the street.
I would be interested to hear what Dr. Dorothy would say, but I think for us, from an Innogen perspective, I would think that because we are also working with students, what we are doing right now is really to equip the girls with soft skills like critical thinking and being able to think out of the box, and entrepreneurship, thinking about not being a job seeker but being a job creator. So because we cannot, again, why I say that I would be interested to hear what Dr. Dorothy would say is it would be really nice if it's something that is in a curriculum, that soft skills and critical thinking are embedded in a curriculum somewhere where we know that all the students that go through SEDAT, for example, get a bit of that, get a bit of thinking entrepreneurship, thinking job creating, thinking all these things. But then for us, from a very, I would say, on a smaller scale, in our capability, what we're able to do, we have these workshops where we have them think outside the box, think of, so for example, the problem solving. If you're able to identify a problem, for example, in a village somewhere, I would give a case in Ghana. and Eleni, you can really expand on this. For example, the maize or the cassava, for example, the women are able to harvest the cassava, but how are they able to process it? And if they're not able to process it from an engineering point of view, can we build a maize milling machine, a manual one? It doesn't have to be electric. Can we, and for the students, or can you expound on that and actually make it a business venture and actually produce these things that you can sell out? So for us, from our perspective, that's how we look at it. You identify a problem in the community, and if you come up with a solution, how can you scale it up? And how can you think really human-centered design, think how you can expound on this solution so that it can generate income for you. So for me, that's what I would say.
Yeah, Dr. Okello, please give a few snippets on this.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's good. I picked out 3 areas, and all of which are very exciting to me. First is the issue of students. And you see what? When we had the lockdown, the students got locked at home, right? And I said, look at that as an opportunity that you're being forced to understand what are the challenges in your home area. Because typically with school, we now spend maybe 9 months at school and only 3 months, and most of that is holiday time, all right? So how can each of our students within their respective communities, and I tease them, be recognized for doing engineering in addition to the proud title they hold as engineer, even when they're still students in their communities? So our students are definitely agents of change wherever they are, which means that we are always looking for partners at the level of the college so that we can be able to deploy our students into the community. And while we don't have a formal curriculum embedded program as yet, all right, we are really big on opportunities for problem-based learning. And so we run various challenges that we invite them to participate in. We run different seminars and opportunities for human-centered design thinking principles. But this is really, you'll get more of the students who are into this or who get it or who we can motivate otherwise to do that. So working with students and then using our students to work on the communities they live in or they come from is a big opportunity. The other is working with organizations that have roots in the community. And for me, that's also another really big one for me. We've had a lot of opportunities from our side on the engineering side, to work with organizations such as WoogNet. And yes, it's true, I founded WoogNet, but I mentioned earlier, I'm more out of it. But I see the platform it offers me in terms of working together with the women's group to see how do we use technology to solve that issue. Or with Noreen, as I mentioned, gave an example earlier. How do we work together? I'm in Kampala, I'm at the university, but we can partner together and using technology solve a problem within the community. Because as I said earlier, I think we need to start doing something. And yes, if we can get the funding along the way, that's a really great thing because we facilitate a lot. But I believe everyone, at least at the level of their community, can do something. And that's what brings me to the area, the issue of the folks in the diaspora, right? Because a lot of folks in the diaspora still have some degree of linkage back home, and they have a lot of exposure where they are, just even simple things, the work ethic, the survival ethic that you have to have, I think, being in the diaspora is something which maybe I'll speak for Uganda, that we sometimes, I think, take for granted. We have really good weather, you throw seeds in the ground, they're going to grow and stuff like that, so pushing that to the next level to really tap into the potential that we have is really, really an opportunity that I think. So suppose we had things like, adopt your village, all right? Adopt your village, look at an issue. One of the projects that we are working on actually through Noreen, and it leveraged what we did with the primary school, is that, you see, we're working during the time of COVID. And in COVID, what you needed for sanitizing, either you had the sanitizer or you needed water and soap. And so when we went there for some of the investigations we needed to do for the technical specs, the borehole was not working, right? But we have so much around AI and sensors and IoT that our students are so much interested in that they could come up with a solution of how do we monitor these boreholes. And we have programs, say, Save the Children, UNICEF, that is very big on putting these boreholes. But how do we design a very simple system to give them early alerts that, hey, these boreholes are what? Are down. So I think there's a big opportunity there for the diaspora. I think also there's opportunity for leveraging on government and understanding what are the government programs that are being rolled out and where can we, especially working with the women and youth, because a lot of programs are targeted towards this. For example, in Uganda, we have the Parish Development Model, we have the Women Entrepreneurship Funds. So how can we partner with the local women groups, either directly, and here I'm talking from the college, it may not always be possible to do it directly, or through community level organizations so that we can strengthen the capacity. Because the ladies have been solving problems all this time, even the youth, all right? But from our side, and I know I'm using technology a lot because that's what I do best, we can apply our technology to improve in terms of their productivity, either through time saving or labor saving solutions that we can co-create with by seeing what they do, by discussing together with them what are their biggest challenges and how can we do this. Last but not least, I want to really speak on the issue of mentorship, networking, and role modeling, all right? Because trust me, when you hear what Dorcas is doing, if you have the capacity, you want to do another thing that Dorcas is doing, okay? Because Dorcas sounds very close to me. I hear what Nestlé is doing, but when I see Nestlé, I see big company. When I see Dorcas, I see this is a student, one student who's going out and doing something. And I think really I have to give kudos to the Mastercard program for this as well, because they push the scholars to really think through what is happening in your community, what could you do? And there's a little funding sometimes also provided alongside that. So we need to get started. We need to build an ecosystem, and then we shall have a critical mass, all right, that can drive things forward. For now, we don't yet have that, and every small thing that we can do therefore matters. And I'm really happy to see also the comments coming through. For some reason, I can see the comments, but I can't talk to you or see you either coming through. And I appreciate also that feedback as well. And I'm happy to see that we have people from Northern Uganda Resilience Network on the call. I have seen people from WoogNet here as well. And I hope hearing from these different experiences being shared here will also spark opportunities that they can now see, and increase visibility of opportunities that they can see in their own communities to make change. Thank you.
Wow, I hear let's get close to the ground, and let's get close to the people. And how are we getting close to people and to the ground? Through technology. We have very juicy conversations that we would really love to go on with, but time is literally almost to the to the dot. So what I will do is put two questions together. So there is a question, and this can be tackled by Elenu and Dean Okello. So there is a question, and this goes to Nestlé. I want to believe: do women and youth participate or have enough access to the much needed soft skills? And maybe I can put in an angle to this question from my point of view. What kind of technology is Nestlé employing to go close to people? Because nowadays, let's say right now I'm in Montreal. If I wanted coffee, I could literally go through an app, for example, with Tim Hortons or any other beverage companies such as okay, let's use Tim Hortons. Yeah, and order, and I will have it at my door. So has Nestle, especially Nestle in Africa, looked at technologies such as those and these technologies will allow women to participate? Is this something that has been looked at, and is there training for that to allow women to leverage these things? I mean, these opportunities. The other question, I want to put this together because we literally have no time, is about financing, Dr. Okello. People in northern Uganda have no access to capital to start these businesses before we can talk of what they can gain. How can we enable the discussions and the different forums, and maybe even the government, that can allow young people and women access some capital to start this and realize some good opportunities for themselves? So I think, Elena, you can go with the first question, and then Dr. Okello can close to this. Right after that, Dr. Nii Adu will come on to give us a closing remark.
Okay, so thank you for the question, Liz. So in terms of technology enablement, in terms of our processes, yes, Nestlé Ghana, I'll speak for Nestlé Ghana because this is where I have knowledge on. I will admit and say that, yes, it is in the process. Not all the processes or processes within the value chain is technologically enabled. So what I can speak in terms of the example that you gave about ordering for a coffee through an app or through an electronic mix, what we did as a department, as a business unit, was also to partner with KFC to be able to use our product and sell. So if you go to the KFC apps, you can be able to order for any of their beverage solution, mainly provided by Nestlé, but we leverage on their platform to reach to our consumers. And in terms of the general scope of giving access to women in terms of the training and development, yes, Nestlé Ghana is open in terms of the internship opportunities that we give to women, in terms of even when it comes to recruitment, and we do have a recognition schemes in place to honor and also to give that prominence to women at the workplace. And so for me, the opportunity exists. Nestlé as a business, we also reach out through our HR corporate activities in the schools to be able to pitch working at Nestlé to females and also to males. So for the opportunities exist, but we also expect and we expect that the women will also, or the females will also be open to take up some of these opportunities that we provide for them. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Okello.
Yes, thank you. The issue of financing is big, I see it's a challenge, but it's one that we can address step by step. One, as I mentioned, leveraging government programs, right? And here we have to do politics in a different way, because sometimes it's like, oh, that's a government program, therefore only people who support the particular government in power benefit. No, we need to change our ways around that. And also for the women and youth to make initiatives to find out from their local district councils and to find out what opportunities are there, because those funds will typically be there. There's our development partners, our CSOs, also in terms of getting onto, we're addressing human rights, we're also addressing entrepreneurship. That's another opportunity. The diaspora, I haven't yet cracked that one, but I really believe in that opportunity of people building their own homes. And I like to stretch diaspora to include also the in-country, what I may call diaspora from their villages, because there are people who've settled away from where their home places are. That is also another opportunity. I think we also need to, I speak more from Uganda because I'm speaking more from personal experience, interest our private sector in nurturing and developing an innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in the country, because we shall all benefit. The market will grow, their companies will grow. And also, a core thing, we need to believe in our products. We need to believe in buy Ugandan products, buy African products. Because if I buy my sister's products, all right, her business grows. If we buy our sons, our daughters' products, their business grows. Yes, they will start informal. But if we continue to buy, if you're buying clothing, you're buying, Ugandan clothing versus, or African clothing versus what we get out there. Now, be that as it may, it's also true that some of what we get out there lands here much, much cheaper. But those are issues now where the legal and taxation and all these environments can come in so that we actually buy these goods ourselves as well. Those are just some quick thoughts in terms of the question that was raised. And I really think that each of us can do something, and Dorcas is a good example of that at whatever level you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all our panelists, and we will urge you to share your contacts, because these juicy conversations might go on in the background. I will give the microphone to Dr. Ni Adi to give closing remarks, and we are at the top of the hour, so we will end with him at this point. Dr. Ni, to you.
Thank you very much, Liz, and I want to say a huge thanks to our speakers, to everyone that has contributed to the questions that are coming in, very interesting questions that we need to follow through on. I want to say a big thanks, first of all, to our partners, right, to the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business. As Gareth, the president, indicated, this collaboration, it's taken a while to put together in terms of how do we work together. That is academia. We've heard our speakers talk about how does academia interface with business, with government, to actually have impact for youth and women, particularly, right? So I want to say a big thanks to our partners on this. The speakers, the examples that you give, they're very concrete. The example that Dr. Kelly talked about is how do we move from talking to action? And that is what inspires this partnership, that ultimately, how do we move beyond the conversations that we have, actually build on them? So this session itself comes from the session that we had last year with the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business, where we talked about the role of AFTA, particularly in how it impacts women and youth. Now, we are moving into the concrete projects that come out of this, right? And we are grateful that the speakers have each presented very concrete examples of how they're addressing some of these issues that come up, especially engaging women and youth in pathways to entrepreneurship. I have to mention particularly also my colleagues. I think I've mentioned Toye, Gareth. They're also the special envoy, Sebastian Spiro-Gabra, for the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business, who's the special envoy to the AFTA Secretariat in Ghana. Very appreciative of the support, the ideas that have been discussed to actually make some of this come into fruition. And a big note of appreciation to my colleagues at McGill. I have to mention the Deputy Provost, Professor Fabrice Labo, who has been leading the engagement with McGill's engagement with the Mastercard Foundation over the past few years, right? And that this transitions project that we are part of, that works with the Mastercard scholars and alumni, comes out of a long partnership with the Mastercard Foundation. So again, big note of appreciation to the Mastercard Foundation for supporting this transitions project, but also overall the scholars program. Dr. Okello mentioned Makerere is 100 years this year. McGill is 200 years this year. The Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program is 10 years this year, right? So we have a lot to celebrate. And we also have a lot to think about as we move forward, right? How do we move in action? How do we have greater impact? What we're seeing by the scholars and alumni is huge, right? Ultimately, the work that happens with for example, the McGill Transitions Project is largely driven by scholars, by the Mastercard Foundation scholars and alumni, right? The team is very much influenced by the experiences of the scholars themselves. And so they are driving this as we move forward. Toye mentioned that this summer, building on experiences that we've had to date, very positive experiences that McGill has had with the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business, we're having interns, we are growing an internship pool, right, that can actually work with the different members of the chamber. And the chamber includes government partners, includes business partners. It includes McGill now as an academic partner, right? So how do we bridge academia, business, government, the NGO world? There are a number of things that I want to leave us thinking about as we move forward. There's a lot of entrepreneurship going on. Very often at the individual level, we've heard the numbers, the women, the impact that the women are having at the individual level. Very often, people are working because they have to work on entrepreneurship. There's needs-based entrepreneurship. How can we shift the pie such that there's much more opportunity-based entrepreneurship, right? And how can this opportunity-based entrepreneurship draw from what is ongoing by multiple individuals? So we think about the individual level, but also at the organizational level. How do we have impact by organizations? So Makerere, look at what's happening at Makerere. Look at what is happening at Nestlé. Look at what is happening at Innogen, right? How do we leverage all of these collectively to drive the pathways for entrepreneurship, particularly by youth and women? So there are opportunities for collaboration amongst the different parties, academia, McGill, the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business. These are all organizations working across different fields. But then there's an individual level. These organizations support the work that is being done by the individuals for impact. And then there's the issue of how do we transform the systems, the ecosystems. And that's where the collaborations that we're doing come in, right? The work that the Mastercard Transitions Project at McGill is doing is supporting the entrepreneurship of individuals, but organizations as well. Innogen, right? How then do we support Innogen so that it connects with Makerere, that it connects with other universities, that it connects with other businesses like Nestlé, for example, right? And then how do we create an ecosystem? How do we transform the ecosystem by supporting the entrepreneurs like Dorcas, or the entrepreneurs, like Elenu or Dr. Okello, because entrepreneurship happens not just within startups, but within large organizations, right? And so how do we develop this ecosystem working through partnerships like that of McGill, the Transitions Project, and the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business? We're doing this by taking steps like having these interns who work with the chamber and different partners. So we're looking at opportunities for having these interns working with, say, Makerere and Nestlé and others, right? These internships are then supported in the sense by the Mastercard Transitions projects. We are seeing that the internships also feed entrepreneurship, and there's a McGill Mastercard Foundation Transitions Fund, which supports the work of these scholars, including someone like Dorcas, right? How do we support these types of work that comes out of internships so that there is funding for entrepreneurship, and these entrepreneurs also get mentorship, and these are components of the Transitions Project. So ultimately, moving forward, we are looking at the pathways at the individual level, the individual entrepreneurs, shifting the pathways from more needs-based entrepreneurship to opportunity-based entrepreneurship. At the second level, we're supporting things at the organizational level, whether it's McGill, whether it's Makerere, whether it's the Canada Africa Chamber of Business, whether it's Innogen, whether it's Nestlé. And these are multiple types of sectors: academia, business, government, NGO world, right? And creating an ecosystem that then really supports the pathways based on things like the AFTA. The AFTA is it's one of those things that can really change the systems that we're working within, right? And so through partnerships like we're developing and through bridging the work at the individual, organizational, and the systems level, we are looking at the types of change that we can bring about. So we'll end here with this in mind. How do we take the talk, the discussions, the ideas, the connections that get built? There've been a lot of questions that have been put out there. There have been people who've talked about different things they're working on, whether it's at Makerere, whether it's at Innogen, whether it's at Nestlé, whether it's the chamber or whether it's McGill. How do we collaborate moving forward? And we're doing this concretely by having these interns, Mastercard Foundation scholars, and entrepreneurs working together collaboratively across our various organizations to build the kind of ecosystem that is desired. So I'll end here again with a big thanks to everyone for your time, for the participants for your time, and for the presenters particularly for sharing the concrete examples of what you're doing, right? And again, to the institutions that are all involved here for the support as we move things and support entrepreneurship, support particularly the youth and the women in their pathways towards entrepreneurship. So I'll end here and say big thanks again, and I'll hand it back to Liz, who's done an great job with moderating this. So thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nee, and everyone. We are going to close at this point. We will follow up with all of us and to see what else we can do to continue the discussions and the concrete work that needs to be done. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time.